The railways, do you actually think they should be owned by the government, or do you think that it's better off in private hands? Now, there is a case of both sides. Originally, there were very, very many separate railways that went into the Big Four. The Big Four then got merged into what we knew as British Rail. Now, British Rail was owned by the state and funded in part, well, by the state, or topped up, if you like. And British Rail, my understanding, didn't really run at a profit at all. But anyway, there are countries around the world that basically fund their own railway and have a much better railway system than we have now. Now, at the moment, what we have is we have people who own the trains and rent them to the train operators. So they're taking coin anyway, right? And some of the stuff that they're renting out, like the old HST, right, which is the Intercity 125, which was built in 75 roughly, that's still going now. You know, they're still making money out of that. However, they have put a lot of new rolling stock in. But when I worked on the railway, I realised there was incredible amounts of money wasted. Stupid amounts, right? Take, for instance, all of the different bits of kit that have to be bought for all these different companies that take care of the maintenance, that subcontract to, that price has to be paid, well, has to be paid for, which is related. You pay for it, basically. So, as opposed to, say, one piece of machinery that will relay track, they have to buy, each company has to buy its own. So that's extra expense. Whereas if, say, for instance, it was British Rail, they used to have a pool of vehicles that would do stuff, right, and they would then send them off different weekends to different jobs and make them pay well for themselves. That's just one thing. Secondly is they tender for the contract for the next, say, for instance, 5 years, when I was on there, right? And the problem with that is they bodge it. Because one of the things is they can't think that they can't cope with the idea of spending the extra money, right, on that, and then in 5 years' time they don't get the tender and they lost out on that profit, so they bodge stuff. This is one of the reasons I left the job. The other thing is there's a culture of passing the buck. So if there's something goes wrong, everybody piles on and fines that company. So the said companies are too scared to go ahead with jobs just in case they overrun, because there's huge costs, and that actually stops a lot of things getting done. Stupid things like we've all shown up on a Friday or a Saturday night or whatever it is, the track's been closed down, the signalman's there, the hand signalmen are there, the PICOM, the COS is there, all the trackmen are there, the machinery is there, right, the tamper's there, everything's there. But somebody forgot to go out during the week and lubricate these parts that you need to turn off the electric, and they couldn't turn off the electric. So everybody gets paid and everybody goes home, right? Because it's got too late that we can't go out on track, get the job done and get off track in time in the morning for the trains to run on time. And then you've got things like the mail train that goes through. You can't stop that. So everything has to start after that. There's a lot of things that get in the way. But one of the crucial things is investment. There's a lot of investment that needs doing, but nobody wants to do it, because why would you invest in 5 years? There's track that used to be used that could be returned, right? I'll give you an example. Near Bristol, there was a line that they closed down years ago, and it went back to one of the local towns. What happened was, in between there was a docks, right, and the dock company decided that they wanted to move their cars on the railway, so they fixed the track up, got it workable, serviceable, and they run their trains down there where they pick all the cars up and then they send them up country after they've come into the country. Now there's an extra 2 miles of track that need paying for, that would then link Portishead to the railway, and then these people who now take an hour and a half every morning to commute from Portishead to get into the centre of Bristol could do it in 15 minutes. They'd save themselves money, a lot of money in waiting time, right? They'd get a lot of their time back in life, right? Right? And it just get a load of cars off the road. It's just so much common sense, but nobody wants to pay for it. Now, if it was state-owned, those sort of things would be invested in. There's a huge amount of money wasted on the railway as well. It's always been like that. However, my worry is if it went back to being state owned, then there's who cares culture the government will pay. So that's kind of against. I think part of the reason that it went to private ownership was to break the unions, because the unions were stopping it doing anything. I mean, Christ, you know, people, they would go to the unions because somebody was sat in their fucking seat. I mean, it was absolutely ridiculous. The unions are meant to be there to serve the working man, but it got beyond that. It was a power struggle, and you can't get anything done without my say-so. And I do believe there was a lot of corruption. But anyway, that's just another thing. But what do you think? Do you think it's better in private ownership when there's competition, or do you think there's too much money wasted through that? Do you think it would be better that we took it in-house and spent more of the taxpayers' money on it, but in so doing we get a lot more investment, we get a better railway, we could expand the railway where needed, and also the people that actually use the railway, their tickets, because I mean the yearly ticket for some people is in the thousands. I can't comprehend that. For a service that's late, for a service that's nowhere near as good as other countries, and all of this comes from lack of investment and also using an old railway system. The problem we have is that when you're using the existing track, you've got all the problems that go with it. Speed restrictions, because you can't run speeds or trains any quicker because, say for instance, curves and other things get in the way, and to increase the speed you have to build tilting trains, which cost money. And the first tilting train was a massive, it was a joke. It didn't work. And when they launched it, they got all of the reporters pissed the night before, so when they went on this tilting train they all felt sick as a dog, and it broke down enough, and in the end now it's parked in a sidings where it has children's parties, and they reckon within 2,000 years it'd have made its money back. Good joke. But anyway, we do have tilting trains now, but as I say, it took a private person to do that. But also we've got to raise the angle on these curves to increase the speed. This all costs money, and there's more likely for that to get done under state than it is under privately owned companies. It just is not going to happen. So when you do stuff like that, you increase the speed and reduce the time that you spend on that train. There's a lot of other things. But if it was me personally, I'd like to see it state owned. Now that sounds very socialist, but not every socialist idea is a bad one. Not every idea that came out of communism was a bad one, just a lot of them. And it was the employment of said socialism and communism that was then used and corrupted that has made socialism and communism a non-starter forever. But like everything else, the railway itself, riddled with socialists, riddled with fucking unions and corruption. Who'd have thought? But let me know what you think in the comments. Would you like to see a state-owned, state-sponsored railway that was state-of-the-art, that was cheaper to get on, as you know, if you want to get a fare somewhere, it's cheaper for people to hop on the train, that's cleaner, newer rolling stock, and just better facilities all round? Would you like to see that? Or would you rather that the taxpayer doesn't have to top it up, and that it stays in private ownership and it remains the way it is? Let me know what you think in the comments, and don't forget to like, share, subscribe as always, and we'll keep putting content out on this channel for the beginning of the week, and I may go back to Rev on a Rant channel for the end of the week. It's just playing around with the algorithm is all I'm doing, and obviously trying to gain subs to Rev on a Rant, because it's better to have two channels in case one gets taken out, or in case you get a strike for whatever reason and you can't put content out for however long. So it makes sense to have two channels, especially today. Anyway, hope you're all having a good week. It's only just started, and I'll speak to you in a bit.